tax collection, failure to pay taxes, tax title. That's a home in Norfolk. So there's a hearing on April 14th for that over at Rentham District Court. And then he's also filed a another summons about the quote-unquote hoarder issue that we have over on Needham Street. So that will also be a hearing. I believe that one's on April 21st, Rentham District Court. So he doesn't need us to attend. I may attend, actually one or both, but he's got the paperwork and documentation from a variety of different town officials that he needs to go through that process. Additionally, we have Cole and I are trying to put together a program for 911 education. Just it's all related to the as we progress towards the Metacomet Dispatch Center, but it's good business anyway. Is just to come up with a plan to try and educate people to use 911. Seems like it's kind of ordinary business at this point, but you'd be surprised at how many people call the business lines with emergent situations. So Cole is kind of spearheading that, trying to put together a plan for reaching out to NCTV, the Lions, the Girl Scouts, the Boy Scouts, the schools, social media, just trying to bombard people over the next year, just to remind people to call 911 instead of calling the local numbers. Because we think eventually that, when we go to, we'll have a decision to make, but when we go to the regional dispatch center, regional dispatch will be picking up 911 numbers, but there may be periods of time, especially at night, when nobody's answering those, like the 3206 and 3207 numbers. There's not a live body answering that phone. The thought process is that we get, we have a automated tree that answering the system, and the first thing that it says is if this is an emergency, press 0 and you'll be connected to 911. And if that's not possible, then if this is an emergency, hang up and call 911. So I'm not concerned that we're going to create a dangerous situation here, but it is important for people to call 911 in an emergency, as we were all taught back in school. So.
I was looking at the public safety plans the other day when I thought we were going to have a meeting and we got postponed. Mm-hmm. Has there been a discussion about a safe room in the fire department?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't see it in there. Maybe I just...
There is. Well, I don't know. I'm not sure. There's definitely been discussion, and we will, the plan is to have one.
Okay.
So that somebody can get to the fire department. There's no actual person there, but the dispatchers can buzz them into a safe room, and then they can obviously...
I know we planned it. I just didn't see it in the estimates.
Yeah.
It may be just part of a larger number.
Okay. Definitely, I'm with you. It'll be there. Each of the towns are talking about having that. The other thing that I spent some time on the last couple of weeks is just I've had some people visiting me, talking to me about the Spectra gas line, and I think you've got a conflict, but there is an information session on April 7th that is being hosted in Sharon. We do have some people that have approached me who are interested in talking to the board. If you want to have somebody come in and talk about the issue, or I have phone numbers that if you want to call them and you can just talk to them.
Okay. What's your pleasure?
How many people have expressed that interest? Or
It's a connected group. I mean, they have one person I think that they would like to send in, but I've talked to three different local Norfolk residents who are interested in doing what they can to they have concerns over the project, and they've got one person who they all refer to that would be interested. She's making herself available to go speak to different government organizations. So, if you wanted to come in, I can arrange it, or,
Sure. I mean, you know,
It'd be easier than.
Yeah, I mean, have they documented the concern? I mean, something that we can review and decide
not that I've seen.
how to
but-
interface with these, I mean, especially if they're from outside the community, some of the folks, just try to understand how best to approach the issue.
Yeah, and I'm not, in an ideal world, I'd love to have a
Both, one from each party.
balanced, a balanced discussion, and I'm not sure how to, I can reach out to, like, the gas company and see if they want to be part of that discussion, or see what their recommendation is.
You could ask them.
well, I don't know that you're ever going to get a balanced discussion, because you're going to have views on both sides of the equation that are pretty firmly entrenched, but no pun intended. But my question is, what say do we have in this? My understanding is that we have no say. Now, if
There's
the
nothing I
board,
know of. These folks will claim that local officials can make a difference.
A difference or a say, though. I get the
May
difference
just
in
be
the
a
press.
political,
Right.
you may be able to use your political voice to make a difference. I don't believe, there's nothing that I know of that you have to make you have to do an approval.
we haven't even been approached.
Right.
I mean, you haven't seen anything or we haven't even been contacted on this.
So that
You know,
would
what I
be-
would say, I mean, if they're residents of the town, perhaps, we should give them an opportunity to speak to the board, not necessarily debate the issue, but just, speak to the board about their concerns. If they're from outside the town, then that's something that, perhaps is a little different in terms of how we structure something like that, and whether one of us participate or we all, I'm not sure what that looks like, but maybe first giving the residents of the town an opportunity to speak to this board before trying to organize anything beyond that might be the prudent thing to do. I mean, those are the taxpayers of our town. Those are the people that we should hear from, I would think, as a priority, more so than people from these other communities.
Are these people that approach you, Jack, are they from town, you said, or are they expert, or their key spokesperson?
I don't think the person that they're their mouthpiece, their speaker, if you will, is not, I don't believe she is a Norfolk resident. She may be from Franklin.
I agree with what you're saying in principle, but this project is more than Norfolk. I mean, this
Oh, yeah.
project goes through quite a few, I mean, I know a lot, I don't remember
Chunk of New
exactly how
England.
many, but a lot of towns. So I can understand where there may be one person that is
More of an expert, or?
more knowledgeable in the area and perhaps more of an advocate for what their position is. I can understand that. So I personally wouldn't object to having, where the person resides, if it's informational. Would you be okay with that? Because I know it's Franklin, Norfolk,
Yeah.
I know Sharon's involved.
That was a bunch.
You may have to
bunch
put a
of towns.
time limit on it, though, Jim, is my concern. I mean,
Well, and part of the question for me is what can we do? If we were to take a position, what value is that position? How does it help?
That's what I think, one of the things that this person would probably tell us,
Yeah.
like, what does she expect from the town?
I mean, I would think that any influence would come from our state reps and senators.
Yeah, I've talked to our state rep, who's, I believe, more pro-project, based on, I'm not sure he's not telling me what his vote is, but I did talk to him about it the other day, and he, because Maura Healy's issued a report that's raises concerns over that the gas company's claims that they're for bringing more gas up here.
That's a needs-based claim.
Right.
The issue, she's raising it a needs-based claim.
She's saying that there is no need
Right.
for the gas, so why have the project? And so I asked Sean about that because I figured he's gotten involved in it a little bit, and he has. He said she's right, although they're looking at the price of oil today. And if you looked at oil 2 to 3 years ago, there was
$100 a barrel.
It was a much different.
And it will change over time, too. There will be a need
It'll be
someday.
$100 again.
Well, and then the power companies, the electrical generators will switch back from oil back to natural gas, and there'll be a huge demand. And, not to mention the fact that we're shutting down the coal burning plants, and other, the nuclear power plants are under challenged as well. So, he, for what he explained to me, and it made sense, is that there certainly is a need. Maybe not today, but, again, we can't flip this switch.
Turn it on and fill the pipeline in a day. It takes years. and-
Correct. I mean, it takes years to construct and get permitted and all that. So,
My concern, if this thing becomes, you got a few dozen people in here, it becomes a discussion about global warming and all these other things that, people can't
we're
agree
talking
on.
about fracking and.
Well, no, the whole thing, I mean, in
Bring it
terms
in.
of, hydrocarbon versus alternative energy. I mean, I'm not sure that's why I asked, what do we have that they've provided for us to review to understand the issue? Because I'm really not interested in having a discussion about global warming with anybody.
Well, how about, I see what I can get for written materials and give that to you guys, and then we kind of just defer this until you've had a chance to review that. If you want.
If there's any way you can find out exactly what role we can or cannot play, because
Yeah.
if I've learned nothing else from this run and guns situation, you get, people start to have expectations that you can't meet.
No
And
good deed goes unpunished, Jim. Don't forget that.
I know. But, I don't want to get us into a position where people have an expectation that we can do something when in fact we can't. Now, if there is a way we can be helpful that we all agree or support, that's different. But I was under the impression that we had no input or say to this. And that if there was political input, that was from the state in terms of our state rep and our state senator. That's what I was told, but that could be wrong.
I'll do that. Sorry, I was
What they ask, yeah, no,
double
yeah.
checking. You want to do some reading? You want to do some research first, and then we'll.
Are
And
you-
I'll have a
are you gonna go
conversation.
Thursday night?
I will go Thursday night. I would like to understand, have some
'Cause you're
better
gonna get one point of
understanding
view
of,
there.
maybe you can send some information in terms of.
I think there's some up in Jim's box.
Residents or
I think I've-
non-residents, what have you. I'll take a look at it.
Okay.
But,
You are going to get one point of view there Thursday night.
well, I'm not averse to talking about, supply and demand and those types of things. I mean, I agree with you. I'm not sure at the end of the day we can do much about it. But, it wasn't that long ago that we were celebrating the fact that we had so much natural gas in this country and what a wonderful thing, it's clean energy. And now, if all of a sudden, the argument is, well, it's clean, but it's not the cleanest, and we don't need any more of it, and we shouldn't have pipeline. I mean, I just think that at some point will have consequences. It's just a question of when. In my opinion, that has consequences, that decision. But I wouldn't mind hearing some of the facts.
Yeah.
So I'll go on Thursday night.
We got to get solar panels and then have electric cars.
And what?
Did you order your Tesla?
I think I have a conflict, but if I don't, I'll go with you. We have a meeting on Thursday. Yes, the insurance. That's what I was thinking
Yeah.
of. Okay. I hadn't put it in my calendar. Okay. Probably can go with you. Okay, what's next?
I think we want to have executive session, talk about Lake Street, and
Oh, we have an action item.
you don't really want to do that, do you?
Hey, someone's willing to serve. I think it's important.
I only say that because David Terry's a nice guy.
Oh, all right. Don't dissuade
That
anyone,
was
Jack.
sarc- that was
I know, but
sarcasm.
we need all the volunteers we can get. It's hard to get people to.
Never turn down an applicant for the Conservation Commission. Never. Thank you, David.
Yes, thank you.
Do I have a motion?
I will make a motion to appoint David Turee to the Conservation Commission, term to expire June 30th, 2018.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, David. That's the first time in about 3 or 4 years, isn't it?
At least, yeah.
At least, yeah.
Yeah.
And who's counting?
How are we on the police contract?
We're close. We're very close. We had, Chuck has been resurrected, so
He's out of rehab?
he's home.
Hip rehab, let's make sure we clarify that. Hip rehab.
He did have a hip replacement, and he is,
Not sure we're supposed to talk about that.
he's home, and he's now of clear mind. And,
Some people just take longer to heal than others.
had a heart attack. I was out of work for 3 days. I don't know how many times I have to say that, but I keep telling everybody, and they keep just, yeah, whatever.
I know.
So Chuck has gotten involved in the wordsmithing with us. So we're having I think we're close, right?
We're very close. I think we may have to find it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the officers need to make sure they're okay with the final wordsmithing.
Yeah.
Bottom line is, we're close.
I would expect that it will be before the next board meeting.
Okay.
Yes, I would agree.
Do we need another meeting to fine tune it, or is this something guys just cleaning up?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
No, I don't. And then I do have contracts for the that I would
Architect.
like you to, approve. Those are for Jakunski Humes.
You want us to read all this now?
I want you to read all that now. Yes, I do.
Thanks for the ahead of time. So
I-
what about the
Are you really going to read an entire contract with an architect?
I would like to.
Actually, I did read it, the old one. That was a mistake.
My apologies. That was, we had some debate going back and forth between our attorney and Jakunski Humes' attorney. I believe we're in a good place now. We settled on a fee a long time ago, so this was really just about language and liabilities and et cetera. We would like to get this contract signed sometime reasonably soon.
Are there any major changes since the one I read before?
No, it was literally in the indemnity section that
The addendum section?
So
they were debating about.
I'm looking at page 9. It looks like it has some of the financial terms of the agreement.
That was part of the.
Yeah, that hasn't changed. So it's the addendum that's changed?
No, indemnity.
Indemnity.
Indemnity section?
We do it all the time. Where is it?
I'm trying to find it too.
Insurance to pool, contents, reimbursement, design fees,
Professional responsibility? No?
No, I'm not sure if it's in the section that's labeled indemnity. It's just talking about indemnity.
I assume it's because we want them to identify us vice versa, and who had the stronger language. Did we have the original stronger language, or?
Yeah, we were just
Yeah.
asking for changes to their standard contract. So they agreed to all the language that Mr. LeBlanc from Murphy S. had suggested. It wasn't anything significant to my understanding.
Okay, there's nothing really. Let's see, yeah, like you said, yeah. I'm looking for anything it has to do. You know, this is like, the services during construction reports on the phase. Norfolk 7, district compensation,
I think it's in,
reimbursement, change orders. Termination, release and discharge.
I think it's in insurance. It's gonna be,
No, it's just about the coverage. Usually what you talk about here is just make sure they have all these different forms of coverage, right?
yep.
Surprised we only had that.
Jack, on page 18,
Yep.
because this comes up in industry sometimes, this
Which number?
question about, who owns the work product.
Which number?
Gotta go to
Yeah,
It's
no, I remember that.
16.1. So it has a comment, one reproducible copy of all drawings and specifications furnished by the designer, and all documents prepared by the designer shall become the property of the awarding authority. Is our attorney comfortable that that includes the electronic format? You know, if we have an issue, or even if we don't have an issue, we want that information for future reference, right? I mean, that in electronic form. It comes up in industry, and it just want to make sure that there's no issue with us getting that.
I can make sure that it does.
Well, you put my note in there? Right, these ones are gonna sign, you don't probably write, no, we're not signing these things,
Note here.
you know, including electronic copies, I would think, right?
If you guys want to take these and then
Yeah, yeah.
make a vote to, you know, that you're going to sign them maybe in a week when you do the warrant next Tuesday, I mean, that timing would work out.
This question about the rec and having this separate corporation, organization, legal entity, I guess, might be the best description.
Yeah.
As far as the architect is concerned, this contract, they have no problems in terms of helping us allocate the proper expenses between the two organizations. They're not gonna come back with some additional fees because there's some additional bookkeeping or records keeping or whatever.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think two things, if I understand your question right. I mean, one is, A, that, you know, he was kind of the kind of originator of that thought, making sure we allocated appropriately between the two entities, police department and the rec. The second thing is he's the architect on both projects, so he's, you know, it's not, which both we and the rec board of directors, the town administrators, you know, we were hoping to end up in that place having the same architect, so we wouldn't have, you know, two architects, A, debating and running up fees, and B, you know, not seeing eye to eye and us having to resolve some issues. So I think, if I understood your, you know, question, I think he's certainly on board with us doing what's, you know, trying to allocate costs of
Yep.
of construction, and also making sure that we have the proper tools in place so that we can allocate operating costs properly on an ongoing basis. We want to set that up, you know, both during construction and operationally, that the proper entity is being charged a fair amount.
So when he does his invoicing, you expect it's gonna have all of the expenses and then a credit? Or is he gonna have the two separate invoices, and the sum of those two will be the total, if you understand? I'm just wondering the mechanics of this, what this looks like, I guess.
Well, that's a good question that I can't answer quite yet, because what we're trying to do is set up an intermunicipal agreement between the town of Norfolk, which you folks will be the party to, as well as the MEC, which the board of directors will be a party to. We're trying to set up, because we had discussions with the Attorney General's office about trying to create, how do we go out for contract with the GC? We want to contract one general contractor to construct both projects, if you will, both the MEC and the police station. So in that intermunicipal agreement, we're going to have to just make some decisions about how all that billing goes about. Right now, the architect is going to have to, he's just going to have to itemize and send us two different bills. He's going to send the MEC a bill, and he's going to send us a bill. He's got obviously he's got a separate contract for the MEC project.
Is
But
it,
we're gonna, in the intermunicipal agreement, we're gonna have to define how to bill for the contractor. We've got some ideas already. The simplest being
Yeah.
that the MEC will be bid out as a alternate, so the contractor in his bid is gonna have to provide us all those costs up front. that he's gonna charge us for the mech.
Can we, can we get shared, or can we get clarity on shared components to this project? Ahead of time?
Yeah.
I mean, in writing? Can it be part of the agreement? In other words, elevator, training room,
Yeah.
whatever, stairway, bathroom, whatever it might be where we're gonna share facilities.
Yeah.
We don't want to get into an argument after the fact, well, this is 20%, no, it should be 30%, should be 50. Can we get all that nailed
Yeah,
down
no,
up
I think
front?
that should be part of the intermunicipal agreement. I
Okay.
think we get that all in there. And we're trying to work that out with the state too. I mean, we're trying to make sure that the state's on board to pay for their fair share, if you will. I mean, they're paying all the construction, theoretically, they're paying all the construction costs of the MEC. I mean, clearly they're paying for, the 911 dispatchers, terminals and stations and the room that they're gonna be in. So there's always some negotiation as to how much beyond that they're gonna pay. Obviously, they're gonna pay for the IT room. Now they start pushing back on us when we start talking about having a locker area, not a full locker room, but just, literally like school lockers for the dispatchers to put their stuff. So we're trying to make sure that that same discussion that you want to have between us and the MEC, we're trying to have between the MEC and the state to make sure that the state's going to pay for all those things as well. And once we know what the state is going to pay for, obviously that makes it easier for us to have our discussion.
Now, I should remember this, but is it the same project manager for both two?
It is,
Okay.
yeah.
One of the other things when's our meeting? It's a couple of, end of the month, right?
Yeah, for the last Monday of the month.
Will he be in a position at that time to tell us or have some more clarity? I know there are areas that Public Works is going to help, but we need to define that. We need to get real clarity on this as to who does what and to what degree Bob really feels Bob's wonderful. Bob will volunteer to do everything, but we need to have our foot in the sea of reality here. We need to have pretty good clarity on that. And that, to me, would be something the
Yeah.
project manager would do.
Yeah, we can talk, I can talk to Andrew some more, and we can have some discussions with him about that. I have, I think, if I'm reading you right, I kind of have some concerns there too,
Yeah.
that we might I don't want to
I'm afraid we're
overcommit.
going to
and then-
overextend.
Yeah.
You and I think share the same
I
concern.
mean, I think, Bob is we're just going to have to do an analysis as to how we can do things cheapest, is really the bottom line. But
That's a
Bob's
different
gonna-
discussion.
Right, but
Yeah.
Bob's gonna have to whatever the DPW takes on, Bob's gonna have to subcontract a lot of that, because we don't have excavators
Right.
and stuff, so, we'll see if we can do it cheaper that way, or do we do it as part of the project?
Because you're going to have some tree removal around the side over on the water property. Do we have to make any formal transition on property there, or
We probably should,
I would think we would?
not that I want to, but we should.
Yeah.
What's the question, Jim?
We own the land next to the new
Yeah.
police station, and we want to use some, we
Yeah.
want to use some of that land, but it's under the water department.
Oh, yeah, right.
So
Okay, for the-
my view is we should make a formal,
The entrance, second.
A
I
formal-
would think probably just that the water department would give an easement or something to the.
that's okay,
Yeah.
just as long as we've got it formally.
Yeah.
Yeah. That should apply to the tower too, I would imagine, huh?
Yeah, there will be a rental type agreement. We talked about that, the chiefs, the gang of 8 chiefs are talking about that today. Chuck obviously wasn't there, but we had a MEC meeting this morning, and the operations committee, which is the chiefs, reported back, just, they're going through, they're kind of, right now, really going through the process of looking at the entire MEC project and seeing what the cost estimates are that they know of at this point, and making sure the whole scope of everything that they think needs to be included in the project is included in the grants that the state has approved. We're right now applying for the FY17 grant, which, so we had a discussion today about whether or not the radio tower, radio capabilities at this location, the Sharon Ave location, will be on top of the water tower, or will there be a separate antenna? And they've got a vendor working on that right now, just to give them the factual differences about what our water tower can hold, because it can't hold everything, but maybe it can hold what we need it to hold, versus having a
Built from the ground
separate
up.
radio tower. Yeah. obviously the radio tower would part of the
I
911.
hope I say this the right way.
command as
Do
well.
not take this the wrong way. There is a tremendous amount that's gonna be on your plate in the next 3 months. Huge amount.
And that's unusual?
Well, the rec, in the sense of the rec, you know, you've had a lot on your plate around the rec, getting it up and going. Now it's going. And all of these agreements, all of these loose ends have got to come together.
Yeah.
Can we help in any way? Because it's, you know, I've only touched the outside of this with you a little bit, and it's a lot of work. And we need to make sure we get as much of this right at the front end as we can. And you've done a great job. That's why I said, don't take it wrong. Believe me, I know how much your time you spent on this.
Yeah,
I mean, just working through the politics of it has been a full-time job.
Yeah, that's been entertaining, and gone well so far. But that's been, you know, just seeing how the different towns work has been interesting.
But can we help? I mean, can one of us help you? And is there a component of this that you know, that we can
Well,
take
we-
ownership of to help, or is this just something, or just ask?
Let me think about that.
Or you're
but-
okay.
But, you know, maybe if we, each one of us, you know, I don't mind sitting down and having a coffee or lunch or something with any of you and talking about,
I mean, I know we
What
can't
things
go
you might
4
wanna-
different directions. You can't have 4 people
No.
doing, because it has to connect, obviously, but I know what's gone on up to date, and I know it's gonna be much worse from this point forward.
well, no, I mean, there are gonna be things, and the town administrators haven't really talked about kind of subbing stuff out, but you're right, there certainly will be, you know, there will be negotiations when
Yeah?
you know, I assume that the dispatchers are gonna, I think it's pretty safe to say that they're gonna
Yep.
unionize.
There's gonna
So
be
there will
union
be that
formed, the
process,
contracts
you know.
all agreed
We're
to,
gonna-
there's, you know,
Be hiring an executive director, there'll be a process for that.
there is a lot on the plate.
If you're interested in participating, there will be plenty to do.
Yeah. I mean, up to this point, it's been conceptual, now it's an action.
Yeah. Yeah. And we hope, you know, January or so, you know, probably will, I'm certain we'll get into spring by the time we actually hire somebody, but we're hoping to hire an executive director that will take
That'll
over a
help.
lot of this.
Yeah, well, certainly the negotiations and all that
I
stuff.
mean, and the chiefs are doing a lot. The chiefs are doing, you know, setting up operational procedures already for the new entity. You know, there's gonna have to be, the dispatchers are gonna have to kind of just think about the communication, you know, when they're talking to, they're gonna have to know how to talk to 4 different departments and, you know, so that they know, you know, the easiest example is the chief one, you know, C1 is the chief, but, well, they can't say C1 anymore because there's 4 C1s.
Me or
C1
you?
rental, C1. fine.
Yeah,
I know you're
so-
saying, no, I can use the
so
name, I know
that's
what you're
just-
saying, yeah,
that's just
that's them, though.
the
That's
very,
not-
very simple
I don't think that's the detail
example.
that Jim's worried about, it's more the intermunicipal, make sure things are, you know, I think.
Well, I know when we sat down with Nutty, just on the lease,
Yeah,
there's a lot
yeah.
of stuff.
Yeah, I think we do need to pick up the lease again, so.
Yeah, there's just a lot to be done, so,
Lease is yours.
Lease, there you go. How about that? Hold on.
did I just get ownership of that?
Yeah, lease, Jim equals lease, gotta make sure, and that's
Good
noted.
deed goes unpunished, huh?
Yeah. Oh, he likes that stuff, though.
So Jack,
Anyways, I have one.
when the board meets, the MEC board, which you are a member, correct?
Yep, every other Tuesday, 10 o'clock.
Okay,
So,
Jim equals lease.
you know, when it comes to having to spend money, right, in terms of, you know, doing some of the upfront work to get this set up, is that come out of the grant from the state, or there are, you know, some of that upfront seed money, if
You
you
okay
will,
with this?
for the operation, you have that
So
established?
far,
or-
100% of what we've spent has come out of the grant money, because we don't have, the towns have not contributed any money to the dispatch yet. We did budget some, but that money still resides as unspent money at the town's budgets. So we still have, I think it's $25,000 in a line item here for regional dispatch, but we're not spending any of that.
delayed because we haven't had the contract.
With the exception, Norfolk spent a little bit of that money just doing some prep work at our station to get it ready for security work that will coincide with the regional dispatch. So, yeah, the short answer is, the only money we're
Wanna
spending
hold
so
on,
far
please?
is
It's
state
okay.
911 money.
We'll leave them with you.
Yeah, because you have this, you get 3 phases, and maybe we're in,
Borrow that one.
what's that? We're in the second of the 3 phases now, maybe, where you don't have it operational yet, but you're having to spend some dollars to get to the point where it's operational. And then once it's operational, obviously, the towns are,
Yeah.
they're paying their fair share. So you've got those funds in place, or are there any additional funds that have to come from the state as we try to go from where we are to where we need to be to have it operational?
So the only money that we've spent so far has been all like kind of true project, project manager, architectural money, and not even legal fees, because each of the, really, don't tell anybody, but we're using Franklin's attorney to review a lot of the documents. We've done our attorney just for the municipal, intermunicipal agreement, but since it's our police station, I said we could do that. We will, the plan is, so right now, we're trying to contract with a treasurer and accountant. We have to have those in place so that we could actually set up some bank accounts and get tax IDs and do all that behind-the-scenes corporate type stuff that we got to do in order so that we could create a bank account and actually take deposits, take money from the towns and put it into an account. Because we are getting close to that point where we're going to actually spend money on non-project related costs, but actually trying to, like, startup costs to get the rec center going. So we're very close to that, and we're hoping to actually do that before year end, so we could take this year's appropriation from the 4 towns and put that money into an account so that we have that as kind of seed money to start the project. And then obviously we'd take next year's appropriation and do the same thing. I'm not sure we're going to get there before year end, but we had a treasurer and an accountant we thought all lined up through Franklin, and that fell apart. So we're starting again on next 2 weeks from today to interview some more people. Once we do that, then we got to set up accounting systems and set up. Well, we don't have to set up Norfolk County retirement yet, but we've already worked on
And who's going to own that,
on what
all of that, the back room?
it'll be a separate, I mean, the MEC will own it, it'll be its own little thing. It'll
Would
be
it
just
make-
like King Philip Regional School District.
Would it make sense to subcontract through one of the towns?
Well, I don't mean to throw stones, but that's what we were doing with Franklin. Their accountant and treasurer were, they've kind of got the most experience, and they were set up, they were willing to do it. We were gonna have an intermunicipal agreement with Franklin, so that their accountant and treasurer would serve as the regional dispatch center's accountant and treasurer, at least for the first year, just through the startup phase. And apparently their employees had second thoughts, Jeff told us today, so we're not gonna use them. So
Do we
now-
have the capacity?
I haven't talked to Julie about that yet. If you had asked me 2 months ago, I would have said no, because Julie was just getting started.
Right.
I'll ask her next week when she comes back and see if she's,
Would Rentham do the same? I assume you're each asking. I don't know how big the departments are.
Yeah, they'd be-
Plainville.
Rentham has a very strong treasurer, somebody who's worked in the Department of Revenue, et cetera, so that might be it. She might be willing to do the treasurer side of it. We have to have 2 different people
Right.
for checks and balances.
Yep.
Julie here is very capable. She might be, I just haven't asked her. I didn't think she was didn't want to
Right, just-
overwhelm
yeah,
her
right.
while she was starting.
No,
the
I
job.
understand. It seems, rather than establishing a separate King Philip kind of structure, if we could subcontract it in one of the towns.
Yeah.
Because it's a similar type function.
Oh, yeah.
I know it's work, and, do they have the staff and the capability, but it seems like that would be,
Oh, yeah. No, I think Julie definitely could do it.
I know she could, it's just
she's-
she had the time.
And she's trying to disengage, she's still, she's been helping out Linfield because they hired a replacement for her up there, and that person only lasted a couple months, so she's been going up there on Fridays.
Wow.
So, be good if she can disengage from that at some point soon. And I'm sure she'd be more than happy to pick this up. This will be, other than the initial startup, just setting up the chart of accounts and doing all the fun stuff that you have to do with an accounting system, And it actually may just be green ledger paper for the first couple of years until we start getting employees. There's probably a lot of startup stuff to do, but then once there's not a lot to do over the next 12 months, and then when we start getting employees next fall, that's when the real fun will start.
I agree with Jim. Sounds like you're going to be very busy because that's very detail-oriented stuff that we're talking about.
We put together a list of all the things that the treasurer and the accountant have to do, and there's a good, healthy list of stuff. Just that part of the thing has to get done. We got to set up, prepare for union negotiations, and HR stuff. All has to get done.
So you want me to contact Nettie and just, I'll own the lease?
Sure, I'll give you the draft that we've.
I have it, I still have it.
Okay, you still have it.
Yep.
Okay. Sure.
Yep, all right, will do. Is there anything else we can take off your plate? That I can volunteer?
Budget?
Mr. Bugby, or Mr. Palumbo for.
My accounting background.
Thank you, Mr. Bugby.
Yeah, right.
No, I don't. Once I get my staff reunited here, which will happen next week. I'll be feeling better.
Okay. Well, if you think of anything, because
Let Jim know.
Let-
Let Jim know if you think of
so
it.
that I can let Scott know.
Yeah. We'll let the new chairman take over. Yeah, we got a new guy in the block.
If you think about it in May, then, we can let Jeff know.
I have to get a little bit of sleep. I'm not like you, Jim, that I can go without sleep for.
Jim usually gets
3-4
more done by
days
8:30 in the morning than I get done all day, so
Sure.
it does have an energy level.
Well, why don't you just tell us, update us quickly on the budget. I know you haven't had any time to work on that, and I know that King Philip is meeting with the other two towns, and so our number may change. I'm confident it won't be up. It could be down. I think you'll agree with that. We were the low ball on that. Did you guys see that number, the difference?
Yeah.
The new numbers? Yeah. My guess is that both towns are going to struggle with that, would be my guess.
Yeah, Julie and I were working on it last week. We've got some departments that we're trying to whittle away at, if you will. Certainly not, I don't think we're not decimating or creating havoc on any of the departments. So we're trying to close that gap. We're down into the $300,000 range, with the assumption that we can make some other changes that we've talked about, and we're going to push early next week. We're going to meet when Lorraine comes back. We're going to talk about pushing the new growth up a little bit too to help close that gap. So I think give me another week to 10 days. I think we'll be in good shape to have the gap eliminated.
Is that assuming they're using all free cash or less, or what the number you want, like with the
We
300?
only used, I think, 300,000.
Right now we're using 300,000.
Okay. I mean, like, great if we could use zero, but I understand.
Yeah, I know. Last year, the fact that we used about, I think we said $600,000
change.
of one-time revenue. Clearly,
Really hurts,
if we
yeah.
can cut that in half, and it just gets us to the road to better budgeting.
50% less problem next year.
Yeah,
But comp happens, like you said, yeah, it just doesn't,
it does.
It does.
Yeah.
growth on growth.
I had a little time. I went to the rec meeting in Rentham today, and I went back through just to drive past the police station to see what was going on there. There's a lot of, Jeff probably knows too, there's a lot of steels all up that
Yeah, for island lighting, yeah.
you should go down and look at the island lighting. Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry, island lighting.
Yeah.
Look at all the work they've done.
Big site,
They are
yeah.
really. So that's I know it's not because of the type of building, it doesn't bring in the tax revenue that
But it's
something like the
huge.
medical building brings in. Yeah, but it's
Huge, place is huge. I went by it too.
It's nice
huge.
to see it. Nice to see some real progress up there. And Ray and I did meet with Jared from Island Lighting and Mike Susi from Bridge Company there, just to talk about. We're trying to close that, get that deal done to, figure out from the town's perspective, both as the town and also as a resident, if you will, of that development now. We're trying to resolve the issue of getting the road finished, because we all know that the the original developer, a lot of that property was repossessed from him. So the developer's not in the picture really anymore. So we had some good discussions. We're trying to, we've got some money at the bank that, as part of the bond. We're trying to, work a deal where the kind of all the resident, I say residents, but it's obviously the
Tenants.
commercial
Yeah, yeah.
residents, commercial tenants, all kind of step in and because a lot of them are in the construction business, that,
They could do
see
it
what they can
cost
do
plus,
for
yeah.
like in-kind contributions, et cetera, to try and get that road done. And they were very eager to, kind of look at it, and get the project done through reputable contractors, if you will, but trying to avoid some, if the town just bids out the project and we're stuck with the prevailing wage and all that. So they were very eager to help us out. So I'm looking forward to, we're gonna do some engineering work, just to get proper as-built done so that we can
Yeah.
get a real contract, so we can get a real good, solid estimate for the paving costs that are up there. So, we had a lot of, they had good ideas too about how to get the gas lines in, put some sleeves in, now, because they've already done it at Island Lighting, so they know what they're talking about. So they're gonna help us try and put a sleeve in to get over to the police station. So anyway, I just wanted to say that they were real good to work with, and it was a productive conversation.
So you suggested we cancel the advisory board meeting tomorrow night.
I reached out to Dave late this afternoon, Dave Benton, just to try and,
And I'm sure, because there's no
Okay.
point, because
Okay.
it's a budget conversation.
I mean, they've got CPC coming in, right? Don't they? They had somebody coming in.
Now, CPC's meeting on their own tomorrow.
Oh, that's right, CPC's meeting with affordable housing, that's right. So, I'll talk to Dave, I'm hoping,
Well,
that
we're not ready, so
Yeah.
there's no point.
so we can all stare at each other.
I think originally the plan was wrap up an article assignment.
So we're
For-
off the hook tomorrow night.
Yeah. Just to add another comment, because folks, you're exactly correct in what you said in terms of Shire, but for folks that may be watching, the difference between Shire and other roads within the town is that the town has not accepted those roads in there, so it is part of this private project.
Yeah.
And my understanding is that the property owners in that Shire development, they have shares, if you will, in this property, this collective property over there. So it is consistent with that we utilize those resources, we work collaboratively, because the town doesn't own those roads, which is very different than Main Street, having, private companies, doing some collaborative
Right.
work over there
Right.
on Main Street. Okay, so it's very different. So just to be clear, that gives us
Thank
the
you.
ability to do exactly what you're proposing, which, given the amount of funds which are available and the amount of work that needs to be done, it's really a necessity in order to get the work complete.
Yep, and it's in all of their, best interest as well as ours, again, as a tenant, we want the road to get done, to standard, so it's, all right, maybe think of something else, now it's gone. Oh, there is a, kind of having that conversation with them, there's a lot over there, so one of the first lots up on the left as you come up from Provost, it's that lot that has a lot of the shared, I think it's a detention pond. and maybe-
Funny-shaped lot, I think.
Yeah, it's apparently also got a buildable section in the middle, which gives it some value. But that's, because it's still under, the bank never took possession of that, so it's still under, whatever that was, warehouse development or whatever, it was a funny name. But they're about $80,000 behind in taxes, so we may end up taking that, we're gonna have the ability to take that piece of land if we want to.
What is it about?
Isn't it about the warehouse?
It abuts,
Big-
elite, I believe it abuts elite properties if you go up the hill, and abuts probably the warehouse. if you
Thing,
actually
right, is
go
that,
down
it looks
it.
like a big pond there too. right?
Yeah, and
It's a
maybe,
detention pond.
The
maybe
back of it is
maybe
rental
conservation.
probably, because the back of those parcels on the left, I think,
Yeah.
go right up to the town line, pretty sure.
So, Jared and Mike were both saying, that Luke, the old developer, thought that there was some, value to that land. He thought he could get, some commercial development into the middle of that. It's a big, it's a relatively big piece of property. But I'm not sure I want to take, we're gonna have to figure that out, whether or not we want to take ownership of that, I think it's the leaching field that's down there too, some of the septic system.
But we want our tax money though, too. It's a catch-22, right? We want
We do. Well, but if we take it, we don't.
Well, but we
end
own
up
we
writing
own an
off that
asset.
tax.
But we could take it and sell it.
Oh, true. Yeah.
I'd try to flip it if it was allowed, but, like I said, you really just want to own it.
Well, you've got to auction it. You have to
Auction
do
it,
a
but I mean,
public
have that
auction.
go almost concurrently, so we're
Yeah.
not in the leaching field business, if we don't want to be, and not in the retention pond business, unless someone comes up with an idea for it.
Well, we
but-
seem to end up in it, whether we want to be or not.
We definitely end up in it.
That's been our history.
Yeah. So I'm not sure what all that means. I just know that I did learn that there is that piece of property that, it's valued at in the mid 100s, and it's got about an $80,000 tax debt attached to it right now. So it's quickly going to become he's not going to want to pull it out of tax title if he's going to end up paying more than the property's worth before too long.
I suspect if he was going to do that, they would have already done it.
Yeah, and you're right. I always like to get rid of the bad debts.
Okay. What else, sir?
Give that to Scott. I just have. If I sat here long enough, I could probably think of 10 more things, but I do have executive session that I would like to get to and talk about Lake Street. And then we also, not that we'll be taking any votes, but we do also have some collective bargaining, kind of a generic collective bargaining discussion that affects all of the collective bargaining units related to health insurance that is not on the agenda because it's kind of come up as a Scott and I had a discussion, and we believe it's something that we should talk about with the board. But as I said, we're not asking you to take any votes. We just want to have a discussion with you about that health insurance process, health insurance renewal that we're going through. So we would like to have that as part of our discussion. Again, not that we're asking you to take votes, and I wouldn't ask you to put something on the agenda at the last minute that I thought I was going to ask you to take votes on. I just, something that
Okay.
I believe we can talk about as a discussion point.
Any other items from you?
Good, thanks.
Jeff?
No, I don't think so.
I just have one. I met with a young lady who is volunteered to head up the public garden, community garden on Gumps. She's very excited about it. She had some terrific ideas. She's putting together an action plan that I think we'll have very, very quickly.
Oh, good.
And she's just very enthusiastic. She's been terrific. So hopefully we'll get that going here quite quickly. The general concept was that it would be, think of it as 3 focused areas. It would be for residents that want a small plot, people at River's Edge or wherever that maybe not have the capabilities in their current, where they're living. There'd be something for the food bank. And she had a great idea about how to do something that for people that might be in more of a handicap situation. So it'd be handicap accessible, where they could garden with raised beds and things of that nature. So, and she's done this before. So,
Oh, lucky.
so yeah, very fortunate, and we're grateful for the help.
So there'd be another category of people that I think might be served by this
Okay?
at this venture, and that's like gardening 101. For people like me who are interested in gardening, but I have absolutely no clue what I'm doing. I got the land, so if I was able to go help
You can learn
with a
it.
garden and not really reap the benefits of it, but just learn, that
Well,
would,
maybe the food bank component of that
Yeah.
could serve that purpose.
Yeah.
Okay. It's going to be your future career?
sure.
Gardener Jack.
never know.
Farmer Jack.
The sooner there's a future career, the better. Oh, sorry. That's it. Sometimes I just want to think that and not say it out loud.
Jack and the Beanstalk.
Okay. I'll bring that up to her.
Just,
Yeah. Anything else? So we're going to cancel tomorrow night.
Yep.
We'll be prepared next Wednesday to finish this up with the advisory board, hopefully.
Yep.
You said 7 to 10
And
days.
King Philip, you said they're meeting on either Monday or Tuesday of next week with
I think
two
it's the
towns?
11th, so I think it's next Monday, right?
Okay. So we'll know where they are. 11th.
Yeah, it's
It's a
Monday.
Monday.
Yeah, it's-
I tried to put my reading glasses on to read the,
Still couldn't see it?
didn't work out at all.
Okay. All right. If any of you guys have any input to the budgets that you've gotten, any thoughts on anything, give it to Jack.
Okay.
I've given him mine. Feel free. I got to sign those.
Free advice.
Right, anything else?
That's it.
So do you want to have, maybe we want to meet like an hour or something, before the advisory board meeting next week, just to, or at some other time?
Thank you. Absolutely.
We could arrange to have some,
Are you guys all going to come to the meeting next week? Next
That's what we're
Wednesday?
posted for, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, you're going to come. There's a
like
difference.
a post, yeah.
There's a difference.
I'm posted, like, you never know. You just, you know.
I
you just-
am traveling next week, that was the one.
Okay.
Yeah. Originally, I think that night was gonna be an off night, but because
just
of the
kind of-
schedule.
It was
so,
just
yeah,
a
so
cleanup
now-
night,
so
yeah.
I'm-
We were going to do
Not
the
around.
budget tomorrow night.
I'm not
Okay,
around
but you will be here?
Yeah.
But you won't be here for
for next week.
next week, okay. Well, why don't,
Well, I can keep you informed, I can keep you all informed on the budget development as we go. I just want to have a discussion and give you guys the opportunity to give me feedback
Before we go, I get ready.
before I go to the advisory board, yeah.
uh,
I can have discussions with Jeff one-on-one, and I can have discussions with you guys, one-on-one, and also at the, if we meet for an hour before the advisory board, that would be helpful for me.
yeah, I'm good. So,
Maybe on Thursday, if you want, I can stop by, because I'm actually leaving pretty early on Monday. I won't be back.
All right.
so,
I'll give you everything I got.
which is everything you already have.
No, I just,
No, I don't think so. It's everything I already
I printed it.
Oh, okay. Oh, is that the,
Yeah.
I forget how many pages it was
Changes
that- yeah.
to the budget that you
That you
saw,
gave me.
other than the King Philip
other
number.
than having some discussions, and I got things in my mind, and I know Julie has things in her mind, but we have not put them on a collective piece of, on a single piece of paper to see.
So it wouldn't be anything different than what you've got.
okay, okay. Okay, that's fine.
Do you want to meet with us together, or you want to meet individually?
I'll do whatever you, I'm,
What do you want to do?
I can do it. I can
Want
do it.
to do 6 o'clock?
sure, next Wednesday.
Can you post us? Or why don't we say 5:30? Can you make 5:30?
Yeah. I think I can do it.
Bring some
Long walk?
pizzas over when you come
We'll
over.
bring a pizza.
I can do that.
So I'll ship you over some money, you bring the pizza back.
I can do that.
Okay.
Oh, sure, you're
Post
gonna
us for
have,
5:30?
you're gonna have pizza when I'm not there.
We'll save you some.
Do that to an Italian guy.
That's more for Jim and I.
Okay, anything else? I know we've got kind of a long executive session here. Okay, I think I did, didn't I? I'm sorry, I thought I did.
You entertain a motion to?
Yes. We're going to be going into executive session for the purposes of discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation, whereas an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigation position of the public body, and the chair so declares. Do I have a motion to go into executive session?
Scott Bugby, aye?
Jeff Palumbo, aye.
Jim Lehan, aye. Thank you very much for joining us. We will not be taking any votes, and we will not be coming back into public session. Our next meeting is 2 weeks from tonight, I believe.
Other than the advisory board,
Other
yes.
than the advisory board meeting, which is next Wednesday, that will be televised. We will have the final budget that evening, so in some respects, it'll be a selectmen's meeting, I guess, to a certain degree. So please join us for that. Thank you very much, and hope everyone is safe with this crazy weather. Good night.
Okay.